On the northwestern fertile plains of India stands the proud state of Punjab, the land of 5 rivers, the food bowl of India that nurtures the entire nation. It's a place steeped in history, in poetry, in dance and music. A spiritual place, the home of gurus that birthed Sikhism. The land of gurus, warriors and maharajas. As the Punjabis believe, you will reach the destination once you start. Journey with us to the heart of this land, where its people tell us what makes it the most joyous place in the world. Come explore my home, my Punjab.
मेरा रंगीला पंजाब, मेरा रंगीला पंजाब, मेरा रंगीला पंजाब.
Strains of Gurbani waft across this historical and cultural city called Amritsar. Set up in 1577 by Guru Ram Das, the 4th Guru of the Sikhs, Amritsar is the center of the Sikh faith. All roads in the city lead to Sri Harmandir Sahib, the most spiritual site in Sikhism. Built at a lower level than the surrounding land, the Gurudwara teaches humility. Lakhs of devotees like Anhad are drawn to the place of worship every day. The spirit of seva, of service ingrained in them quite young. The call of the divinity brings them here at around 4 a.m. to witness the journey of Guru Granth Sahib, the Sikh scripture towards the inner sanctum. It is believed the level of spirituality is the highest during this time. Seva or service is at the heart of Sikhism, a divine duty.
Along with Naam Japo, Kirt Karni and Vand Chakna, Seva is equally important. For the Golden Temple complex, Seva is integrated in the complex. When people visit Golden Temple, they can see Seva going all around in the Golden Temple. They can see them, some people wash dishes, some are working in the Langar Hall, and actually the waiting list to do Seva in a Langar Hall is like 2,000 to 3,000 people behind. So if you get your name listed for Seva in Langar Hall, you might get a chance in like another 2 or 3 months.
The 4 gates to the temple invite all, but the gate to the inner sanctum is just one. With service before all a guiding principle, a visit to the Golden Temple is a deeply spiritual experience. To make their way to the Golden Temple, devotees will walk past the bylanes of the oldest market in the walled city. Recently spruced up to cater to the pilgrims, the heritage market is littered with souvenirs. Over 300 shops display Punjabi handicraft, the intricately threaded shoes, and pulkari drapes worn by Punjabi men and women, and bright hues of cloth used for turbans. But the riot of colors also stands witness to another more painful history. Housed in the historic town hall stands for Partition Museum. It's a reminder of what this city has lost and what it will not forget. Partition of India was one of the most defining moments in the history of the subcontinent. The museum opened its doors on 17th August 2017, 70 years after India's independence. 17th August is now marked as Partition Remembrance Day. The trustees have painstakingly curated memorabilia, letters, pictures, oral histories, and even broken door frames and empty utensils. Voices from the past echo in every corner. A walk through the various galleries is an emotional journey, with the sacrifice of our ancestors brought to life. But in the midst of painful reminders stands a tree of hope. On it, scribbled messages left behind by those who lost their loved ones to partition. A short walk from Partition Museum stands another monument of remembrance that honors the darkest times in Punjab's history. On 13th April 1919, on the day of Baisakhi, the harvest festival, thousands of Punjabis had gathered for a public meeting in Jallianwala Bagh. Within minutes, the place erupted with sounds of gunfire. The only entrance to the garden was blocked by the British soldiers. The brick wall that those trying to escape clambered on still stands, with bullet marks, a powerful reminder of lives lost. History hustles with space in Amritsar. The city is not to be explored in cars. Put on your cycling shorts and hop onto a tour on the wheels with young cycling enthusiasts. The first stop, a nondescript white and green gate amid shops that line up Hall Bazaar. Khairuddin Mosque opens up to a large courtyard. It was built over 100 years ago, but the Islamic architecture of the place is still intact. Hop back on your cycle and head out to explore the walled city and its tiny lanes, already coming alive with the smells and sounds of a city waking up. Some of the places so small, sunlight struggles to seep in, and some lead to hidden wonders, like the city's Rambagh Gate. One of the 12 Maharaja Ranjit Singh constructed in the 19th century to protect it from invaders and improve its fortification, has been lovingly restored recently to its original glory. As per Amritsari tradition, the early morning ride is only complete when you make a pit stop for a cup of hot bubbling tea at one of the city's popular tea stalls. The center of Sikhism is also home to another significant place of worship for all faiths. 12 kilometers west of Amritsar lies a temple surrounded by an ancient water tank. Ram Tirath Temple is thought to be the ashram of Maharishi Valmiki, who is credited with having written the mythological epic Ramayana. According to the legend, also featured in Ramayana, it is at this temple that Sita took refuge once she was abandoned by Lord Ram. And it is here that her sons Lav and Kush were born. The entire complex has a number of temples, which exhibit scenes from the Ramayana, making it an important place for devotees of all faiths. The best time to visit is during a 4-day fair in November, when the temple comes alive with sounds of music and prayers. Another hidden gem in the city is the Durgiana Temple. The 16th century temple is dedicated to goddess Durga. While in Amritsar, one must also witness the Sunday Mass at St. Paul's Church, one of the oldest in Amritsar. Amritsar, The cultural and religious centre of Punjab is surrounded by golden fields that nourish not just the state but the entire country. The burst of flavors that define Punjabi food have earthy roots. And to experience the delectable flavors of Punjabi cuisine, you have to make your way to the tiny by-lanes that surround Gurudwara Sri Harmandir Sahib. Food of the city is intrinsically linked to its history, and young food bloggers and chefs like Gayatri Pishoria are keeping these rich flavors doused in clarified butter or ghee alive for a younger generation.
Punjabi food is predominantly vegetarian, and it's, I think, the ideal example of farm to fork eating. A lot of the dhabas actually started post-partition, wherein they would feed travelers. They would have quick, cost-effective meals that would feed travelers. Farmers' food is also slightly heavy because the farmer has to work in the field and they need all that energy. So you would find a lot of pure and a lot of makhan, ghee and butter in their food. So the Amritsari kulcha, you would notice, is very different in its technique and taste. One of the stories is, and this is something my grandfather told me, that Maharaja Ranjit Singh, say back in the day, used to have cooks from different nationalities in his kitchens. And one of those nationalities was French. And these French cooks are actually known to have improvised on that recipe, wherein they knead the kulcha dough in a very similar way that they would make the French puff pastry.
Buttermilk or lassi is Punjab's most sought-after drink. There's the lighter sweet and salted kind. But when in Amritsar, you have to have peda lassi.
So if you were to visit us, not only we would welcome you with a big fat hug, but we would also want you to be part of our families, part of our culture by actually sharing a meal with you, by really inviting you on our tables, which is our way of saying welcome to our home.
It's time to leave the hustle and bustle of Amritsar behind to travel further back in time, when Punjab was ruled by valiant kings and warrior princes, to the time of the Mughals and British invaders. A few kilometers away from the holy shrine is one of the oldest forts in the region. Spread over 43 acres, Gobindgarh Fort's history is linked to the history of Punjab itself, going back to over 250 years. In the early 1800s, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, the eventual ruler of Punjab, staked claim to the fort along with its imposing Zamzama cannon. The fortress was renamed after Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru or spiritual leader of the Sikhs. Visit the fort's Sikh History Museum, where the fort's past comes to life. The fort's Tosh Khana treasury once housed the famous Kohinoor diamond before it was removed by the British. A replica is all that remains of the diamond. Punjabis like to wear their patriotism on their sleeve. And to witness the display of this fervour, you have to make your way 30 minutes away from Amritsar to the Wagah-Atari border with Pakistan. Make sure to get there before sundown, when soldiers on both sides come together in front of towering iron gates to produce a passionate ceremony that marks the nightly closing of the border. It's a high-powered performance, all the chest-thumping, good-natured hooting, and the thundering echo of Hindustan Zindabad, long live India, hiding the deeply painful past of the two nations. Before you exit the city, make sure to stop by the war memorial that honors Punjab's martyrs. Drive past the historic Khalsa College, a place for higher education inspired by the gurus that dates back more than 100 years. Finally, take your family for a break at Sada Pind, a heritage village. Less than 2 hours away from the pomp and show of Wagah is another crossing of significance for Sikhs. As we zip past the massive 4-lane highways towards the sleepy town of Gurdaspur, one is reminded of the arduous journey the Sikh pilgrims must have undertaken to visit Gurudwara Kartarpur Sahib, the last home of Sikhism's founder Guru Nanak. A different type of journey awaits the pilgrims today, a secure corridor that runs from India to 4 kilometers across the border in Pakistan. The partition in 1947 divided the state of Punjab between India and Pakistan, and the division meant Gurudwara Kartarpur Sahib now lies across the political line. The borders of Punjab once brought in not just returning pilgrims, but also foreign invaders. A few kilometers from the Kartarpur corridor stands a nondescript spot that tells the story of how the history of the Mughal Empire is deeply linked to the history of Punjab. It was here in 1556 that a young 13-year-old Akbar was crowned as the Emperor of Hindustan. Takht, or the seat of Akbar, is a double-tiered brick throne surrounded by a water tank. Nearly 200 years later, in a spot not too far away from Takht-e-Akbari, around 7,000 Sikhs lost their lives in the battle against the Mughals in the mid-18th century. The battle came to be known as Chota Galughara, or Minor Holocaust. Today, a martyr's memorial stands here to honor the fallen warriors. While in Gurdaspur, visit the stunning Keshapur wetland. Spend a day here, lost in nature amidst the numerous migratory birds in the winter season. Drive down to the Ranjit Sagar Dam to admire the massive project on the river Ravi. An hour's drive along the Amritsar-Jalandhar highway brings you to the majestic Azadi Museum. Spread across 25 acres, the unique blend of buildings bring to life the unparalleled sacrifices made by Punjab's brave hearts for India's independence. Across the circular hub is a 45-meter high tower known as Shaheed-e-Minar, Martyrs Tower. With a 100-seat open-air theatre, a 150-seat movie hall, you can spend an entire day soaking in Punjab's rich and colourful history. From memorials that honor the battles fought and won, to museums that keep a record of history, Punjab is brimming with hidden marvels. But the soul of Punjab lies in its villages, its farms, and its people. We are headed towards the citrus bowl of Punjab, Hoshiarpur. This region is home to Kinu, a local citrus fruit. Huge plantations came up here as part of the government of Punjab's drive to diversify its crop. A farmer at heart, Harkirat Ahluwalia is also someone who wears his Punjabiyat on his sleeves, opening his home and farms to people from across the world.
Punjab is very synonymous with farms and farming, and the kind of experience a farm stay can give you in Punjab, I think no hotel can give you.
Citrus orchards in Hoshiarpur are spread over acres of land. You have to visit during the harvest season in January and February. The strong sweet and sour smell of the fruit is intoxicating, and the farm stays offer the perfect getaway.
Farming is also not paying enough now. So just for an extra income from the same land, we started farming here. So I always tell farmers, this is the best opportunity for farmers to earn some more income from the same land.
Nestled in the Shivalik foothills is the Kikkar Lodge, built in India's first private forest reserve. Head down to the lodge for a more luxurious experience. While in Punjab, one can experience the life of the locals at various farm stays across the state. Enjoy a regional stay at Punjabiyat Farm Stay in Gurdaspur, known for its refreshing countryside ambience. For freshly cooked organic meals, stop over at Hansali Farms. Or head to Barota Farms for a delightful jungle retreat at the Sukhna Wildlife Sanctuary. From the sights and sounds of Punjab, the exuberance of its people, the untold stories of partition, and of the brave warriors who fought off the invaders. And at the center of it all, the spiritual home of Sikhism. Come and explore Punjab like never before.
मेरा रंगला पंजाब